Well, hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning to those that are watching online. I was checking that out before coming up here, and there's a good chunk of you that are watching live right now, and so good morning. What I want to do is I want to start out with number one, as we just in between this time of when we started service and now, I want you to know that prayers are being answered because Mike's wife is being released this evening. So know that God moves and prayer works, and that we want you to be doing this. Today, what I want you to do is I'd like you to take a moment, clear your head, because today's message has a great impact to change the rest of 2024 if you will listen to it with an open mind. You have to be willing to see. The problem is that often some of my messages are easy to shake off. You can just walk out of here and just be like, Mike wasn't talking to me, and bounce. And see, the problem is, I probably was talking to you. You just shook it off rather than listening and seeing what some of it was. And so today, this has the ability to impact your life, not just in a spiritual sense, but in a space sense. So last week, right at the beginning, we learned that we all tell lies, right? And we've learned. And so, just kind of a side note here, one of my favorite shows. Maybe you can relate. I used to watch it all the time when it was, and I'm going through and watching it all over again. Anybody watch House MD? Anybody? And so my wife, she goes, "Do you see yourself as House?" And I go, "I don't know." She goes, "You certainly have his attitude." And I go, "Wait a minute here." And I said, but the reason why I bring it up, because there's a line that he says it all the time in the show. He says, "Everyone lies." Everyone lies, right? And so everybody does. And they go, "Well, why would they lie at this point?" He goes, "Everybody lies." He goes, "They want to look good. They want this." And the thing is, most of us lie to ourselves. And so we talked about it. So everybody lies. Oftentimes we're lying to ourselves. So one of the lies we tell ourselves, and this is probably one of the things that there's probably people out there, and I'm one of these people. I'm a victim of this. We often lie to ourselves and tell us more is better, right? More is better. It's one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves. It reflects on the first lie that was told to Adam and Eve. As they were in the garden, they're naked in love. Just imagine, if you're a guy, what else are you going to do? She's walking around naked, you're walking around naked, everything is perfect. You're like, you don't need any more than that. Right? You're like, hey, this is perfect. Food's just provided, everything's coming, the water's good, everything's great. You're like, I don't need anything else. You're just enjoying paradise. I mean, just think, you can eat the fruit off of any tree except one. Except one. And the serpent shows up and goes, just imagine, I just want you to know, just imagine, the serpent shows up and goes, God said you could have anything you wanted out of here except for that. You want that. You want more. You want what you can't have. You want more of that. And see, you go, and so for us, that's part of this lie that most of us have resonated with. We go, I want more. I want that. I want the thing that they say I can't have. I want this. We want what we don't have. We want what we don't have. What you need, what you go, I need this. It'll make me happy. It'll make me content. It'll make me fulfilled. We always go, more is better. More money is better. More toys are better. More shoes are better. More purses are better. More watches are better. More muscles are better. More square feet in our house is better. More travel is better. More likes on Instagram. More likes on Facebook. More likes here. More followers. More hair. Unless it's on your back. But see, here's the question that you have to ask yourself. What if the stuff you have is keeping you from the life that God wants for you? What if the stuff you have is keeping you for the life that you want? So today we're going to talk about the habit of less. When having less is better. So I want you, if you're following along, so they're going to come up on the screen, but it's always good to open up the Bible. And so if you can open up, we're going to open up to Acts 27. And so here's the thing, kind of give you the intro to this, kind of give you some key thoughts. Paul's on a ship. They've been beaten down by a storm. The crew thought that they were going to die, right? It's terrible shape. And after 2 weeks going without eating, 2 weeks without food, Paul goes, hey, we're going to break bread. And so he gives thanks and they break bread. And it says, so here's what it says, Acts 27, verse 36. It says they were all encouraged and also took food for themselves, right? They were all encouraged. They were great. They were like, hey, this is great. And then they took food for themselves. And so when they had eaten enough, that's verse 38. So just go, Mike, why did you jump? Because I jumped because the verse 37 didn't matter to this. And it said, so when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship and threw the wheat into the sea. When they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship and threw it out. They didn't need it anymore. Why lighten the ship? Why are you trying to get it? Because less was better. Less was better. So when you think about this, they lighten the ship and they go, I need to make it faster. We're going to have to be able to outrun things. And it makes it to where it floats higher to be able to avoid the rocks. And so if you're trying to get to someplace, you have to be able to get through all of those things. And so when they had had enough, well, the question comes into is, what is enough? What is enough? And see, for you ask yourself this: what is enough? Anybody? Do you have this question? Have you ever gotten to this point where you? So last night at our house we had pizza, right? Anybody know what the problem is with pizza?
There's never enough.
No. Pizza is you get a large pizza. You divide up the large pizza and there's an extra piece left, but you're already full, and you go, well, can't let that go to waste. Well, now you've had more than enough, right? You start eating, it's too much. It's like you've already done this. And see, when you start to know, you start to gorge yourself. You just start to eat. You just do more. And see, the problem is when we start to practice this habit of simplifying and just going, hey, I've had enough, we have to get conscious of going, I have enough. I have enough. And so today, what we're going to do is when we walk out, we go, I have enough of things. I have enough things. I don't need to continue to get things. See, the problem as you're sitting here right now, you don't believe you have enough. You think that you need more. See, what I want you to do is I want you to just actually write this statement down, do whatever you need to. This should be your morning prayer. God, give me less of what doesn't matter. God, give me more of what does matter. God, give me less of what doesn't matter. God, give me more of what does matter. So let's just start with that. God, give me less of what doesn't matter. So here's what it says in Matthew 6, 19 and 21. And so I'm reading out of the NLT, a little different than what you probably have. It says, don't store up treasures here on earth, where moths eat and rust destroys them, and where thieves break in and steal. Store your treasures in heaven, where moths and rust cannot destroy, and thieves do not break in and steal. For wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will also be. So here's the question. My wife's going, slow down. But here's the question. What is it that you start to go, where am I placing my trust in things at? What am I after? Where do I go? Am I storing up my treasure? Where's my heart at? Is it in the vehicle you drive? Is it in the house you live in? What is it? Where's your treasure at? See, because that's where your heart really is. So if you're going, I need to have more stuff, then your heart is in this continual acquisition of goods instead of in this continual acquisition of getting more of Jesus. So you're going, hey, how do I get more Jesus? Well, you got to give up some of the stuff. You got to stop pursuing things. See, Jesus said, so we talked about this last week. We said, if you want to change your habits, let God change your heart, right? If you want to change your habits, let God change your heart. Jesus said, don't store up, don't accumulate, don't hoard. How many places do you go to? How many times do you see that you're in this process of accumulating? It's just like get more. And you might be going, no, Mike, I'm not trying to get more. I just want a bigger account balance. I want more money. Well, that's accumulating. You have security in money, not in God. You know, a new outfit? Well, why? You feel empty? You need external attention because there's an internal void that's happening. You know, you want to remodel the kitchen again because your marriage is struggling. You just don't want to face it. It's just those things. You start to look and go, how do we start getting to this point of going, how do we start getting rid of stuff, chasing less of what doesn't matter so that we can go after what does matter? You know, and so Hebrews 12:1. Let us strip off every weight that slows us down. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus. Strip off everything that doesn't matter. So, how much stuff do we have that's slowing us down? Anybody have a closet that's overflowing? So at our house, not only is the closet overflow, so here, I want you to just, I'm gonna be as nice as I can. Actually, I'll be really nice. I will be. I'll just tell you the truth, and that's just as nice as I can get. So here's the thing. We have 2 closets upstairs. So at our house upstairs, we have a Jack and Jill, and we've taken over the Jill. And so the Jill's closet is packed with mostly my stuff, right? Yeah, mostly my stuff. There's but it's packed. You can't put another hanger into it. I've tried. And then the Jack side is filled about halfway with my stuff as well. So it's a good chunk of, I have more, so it's completely opposite of what you would typically think. So at our house, and then the other side is filled with Melissa's stuff. But that doesn't include the dresser, the nightstand, the laundry that still needs to be done. Even if you did all of the laundry, you couldn't put it away because there's no place to put it. It's just that there's that much stuff that you look and go, but we buy more stuff. Like literally at Christmas time, we got more shirts. We were like, here, let's get some more shirts for the kids and some more stuff from us. And then it doesn't account all the other things that we just have this continual acquisition of, right? So anybody in here, do you like Loungefly? If you don't know what Loungefly is, well, there's 2 people. Those are the ones that I collect a lot of purses. But Loungeflies, like there's all kinds of those at our house as well. And so you start looking at it, and I ask this question all the time. I go, how many of those do you need? Well, 1 for every outfit. Like that's just kind of how it goes. And so they have to match, right? They have to, it's like whatever it is. But see, that's the problem, is that in our houses, we go, I want to declutter, I want to get rid of stuff, I want to do these things. In front of our house right now, there is a dumpster because we're trying to declutter, and we're not getting rid of things that actually don't matter. We're just like, let's get rid of this, let's get rid of this. Oh, we can't get rid of that. I might wear that one day. Like I've got clothes in there from when I was like a 32-inch waist. I go, no way ever I'm getting back into a 32. Ever. It's never going to happen. But see, that's the problem. We have stuff. Our closets are overflowing. Our garages are packed with stuff. Some of us, we have storage units. You haven't seen the stuff in those storage units in years. You just keep mailing them money. You're like, here you go. Here's another $150. Here's another $150. I'll get to that stuff one day. You could have bought it 5 or 6 times over by now. How can this change your life? You might be asking. Mike, you just seem like you're complaining. I am. Start throwing stuff out. Start getting rid of it. Start clearing out your closet. Throw out stuff as if your life depends upon it. Why? Because it actually does. It does. See, if you haven't used it in the last year, get rid of it. Throw it away, give it away. So you just have to start doing this. You have to go, and you don't have to go, well, I got to schedule time to use that now. You just got to get to this point where we're just going to get rid of it. So you have to put it in there. You go, hey, I've got to schedule more time. I got to get to this. See, the problem is, I promise you probably have stuff that you need to throw away, but you've watched too much House along with me instead of throwing away the stuff. You're like, I'm going to watch more Netflix. I want to watch more of these things. I want to spend more time on social media instead of focusing on what you're supposed to be doing. You have to strip off the weights that are slowing you down. So that means strip off the Netflix, strip off the extra things, strip off the social media, start stripping off the things that make it to where you're not doing what God has asked you to do. God, give me less of what doesn't matter. Give me less of what doesn't matter. See, that's the thing. We need to go, God, please take these things away. God, give me less of what, see, like for me, I get up in the morning, I will spend a half hour reading the news. Like I'm a news junkie. My wife's looking at me, she's like, hour, easily. But that's the thing, is that but I need to go, God, well, take this away. If this is causing me not to be able to do what matters, then take this away. Get rid of this. God, give me more of what does matter. So here's what it says in Ecclesiastes 4:6. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. So, right down the street, Jelly Belly is right down the way, right? And so if you, anybody ever eat Jelly Bellies? Well, they're really close by. So here's the thing: if you get the good ones, I could just eat those all day, right? I can just eat them all day. I can just be like, if you get the vomit ones and stuff like that, I'm good. But if I get the good ones, like if you just find the right flavors and you take away the black licorice, I can eat them all day. I can even eat that one. I'm fine with those. Here's the thing. It's just candy. It's sugar. It's like, oh, I can do that too. But here's the problem. After about a handful, you start to feel sick. When you get to 2 handfuls, you're definitely sick. It's like, hey, you're there. Why is 1 handful better? Because when you regurgitate those jelly beans, they do not taste good together. It's different. Less of what doesn't matter is good, right? Like, I really put this vomit story down here, and I'm like, I better not share this. I'm just going to skip it. Anyway, what matters more? Right? So let me tell you, if both my hands aren't full of Jelly Bellies, right? It's easier for me to give somebody a hug. It's easier for me to help somebody. It's easier for me to give. It's easier for me to encourage somebody. It's easier for me to praise. It's easier for me to do all of those things. It's easier for me to surrender. All of those things. Better is 1 handful as long as I can have, so with peace, with room, with the ability to be able to share, than turmoil with 2 handfuls, right? It's just what it has to be. So, to have more of what matters most, we need to know what matters. Define what matters most. So, we've already talked about this. Start getting rid of stuff. Define what matters most. How do you define what matters most? Here's how you define it. Today, if somebody told you if a doctor came in and said, hey, your test results just came back, you have 1 month to live. 1 month to live. What do? You have 1 day left to live. But see, here's the thing. If somebody came to you and said you have 1 month to live, would you go, what would you say? You would worry about relationships, right? Your relationship with God, your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your children. You would go, am I making a difference? Am I going to have, if I had 1 month to live, am I going to leave a legacy? Am I going to leave something behind? If I'm going to have, the Bible says leave an inheritance to your children's children. Am I leaving an inheritance to and that's not just referring about finances. That's talking about faith, and that's talking about a legacy. So when you look at that and you go, am I doing those things? Am I making a difference? If you had 1 month to live, I promise you're not going, man, I better get that sofa now. I better go get that new Apple Watch. I better go get new countertops and that 65-inch flat screen TV. If you had a month to live, none of that matters. Not a single bit of it. But we act like that matters for everything. We go, hey, I got to make sure that I get these things. The most meaningful things are not things. The most meaningful things are not things. So I'm going to tell you right now, as a dad with 3 children and 2 grandkids, I look back and I go, I remember the moments. Nothing is ever about the things I gave them. It's always about the moments with them. Never things. It's about the games that we play. It's about the trips that we've taken. It's the road trips, the vacations that we've gone on, the time we've spent together, the conversations that we have. It's about those things. With my wife, it's never, I can promise you right now, it's never about the things that she's ever given me other than the children that she's given me. I look at it and go, these are the relationships. It's always the best things have been the times that we've gone on walks and vacations, and we've spent all these times in getting to know one another. That's what matters. That's what matters. See, when you go through and you're going through hard times and you're struggling, you have somebody that stands by you. It's not about going, hey, we need to go get a new TV. It's about having that person with you as you struggle through it. As I look out, I know some of you have struggled, and you've gotten through it because of the person sitting next to you. It's not because you bought something and it gave you comfort. You're like, hey, I've got somebody to get through this with me. That's why I tell you, week after week, bring somebody to church with you because it is better together. Life is better with others. Life is better. As a pastor, I've been forgiven and I forgave, right? I've seen people healed of addictions. I've seen people go from places that you would never, ever think that they would be used as, that God uses people, and all of a sudden they're doing things that you go, oh my gosh, look at God, look what he's done. Look how he's taken that person that you would never, ever think. Look at how he uses me. Guys, I got to tell you, I was broken. I am still broken, but I was really broken. Really, really broken. And I look back and I go, I go, look at where God has done this transformation. If you talk to people that know me from my teens and my early 20s, they would go, Mike, a pastor? No. Mike leading people to God? No. There's no way. Mike going out and preaching, and Mike going, hey, I'm just going to do everything I can to make it to where I can be a nobody to talk about somebody, right? That's the mindset that we have to get to and go, it's not about stuff, because I was on that acquisition of stuff. I like things. I do. I think all of you like things too, right? None of us are walking in here, Mike, going, hey, I want to get rid of everything. No, we walk in and we go, we like things. We think things are nice. I think things are nice too. The problem is some of us have, we hold too tightly onto things and not tightly enough onto God. We're so going, I need to have this. I will tell you right now, God never promised you steak and lobster. Never promised you that. He said, I'll give you what you need. I will give you what you need. And I tell you right now, steak and lobster is nice, but it's not what you need. You just need substance, bread, water. You just need some calories. You don't need to have steak and lobster. Is steak and lobster nice to have? Absolutely. And if you can have it every day, by all means, but don't be that with what you hold on to. Don't be like, that's what I have. I have to have that, or I don't have anything else. You couldn't be the guy that shows up to the restaurant, oh, you don't serve steak and lobster? I don't eat. Right? How long would that last? Who knows? So better is one handful with things that matter. Better is one handful with things that matter than two with don't. So, God, give me less of what doesn't matter, more of what does. So let's go back to the statement. I'll tell you right now, I have enough. I have enough. Some of us, we just don't believe it, but we do. We have enough. See, the statement, when you go, I have enough, oftentimes that statement is incomplete. Because you have to go, because I have Jesus, I have enough. With Jesus, I have enough. Some of you will say, I have Jesus, but I still don't have enough. Because you might be going, Mike, you know what, forget about TV, forget about any of those things. Mike, I don't have a job. Mike, I don't have the money to pay the bills. Mike, I don't have, and I want to acknowledge that. I want you to know is that I understand that too, so that's a difference. Look at what Paul says in Philippians 4, verses 12 and 13. It says, I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all of this through Christ who gives me strength. Well-fed, I have Jesus. Hungry, I still have Jesus. See, when I have plenty, I have Jesus. When I'm in want, I still have Jesus. See, we still have those things, but see, the problem is that most of us, when we don't believe this, we don't believe that I have enough. Because I have Jesus, I have enough. And so some of you here go, I have Jesus, but I still want more, is what the problem is. I have Jesus, but I want more. Why? Because Jesus is often living in the background of your lives. So when you start looking at it and going, well, I don't have enough of this, or I don't have enough of this, or I don't have enough of this, you have to start thinking about going, well, what sort of circumstances or what sort of status are you trying to keep your life at? See, when you go, I don't have enough of things, what sort of level are you trying to live at? See, and that's kind of where the problem is that a lot of us go, well, I'm not, this isn't part of my notes, so I'm kind of getting ready to get off topic, so I just apologize for that for a moment, but it's on topic, off topic. Here's the thing, in biblical times, see what would happen, and we don't practice this. There's the thing, anybody ever heard of the American dream, right? Everybody wants the American dream, right? We all want the house with the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the 2 cars in the driveway and et cetera, et cetera. There's the American dream. See, the problem is the American dream starts to remove the Bible from things. Because in history, throughout most of human history, we don't see this, hey, you turned 18, now get out of my house. You turned 21, now get out of my house. What we often see households together for a very long time. What we would see is that if you were a family and you were raising, so there was a big reason to have boys, because the boys didn't leave, right? The boys didn't leave the house. They brought new people into the house, and then they expanded. But there would be often times where you would see 2 or 3 generations living in one household until they ran out of space. So could you imagine? Just think about it this way. And a lot of cultures still practice this, even some of those here in the United, that are migrating to the United States, they still practice this. What ends up happening is somebody comes over, they become the head of that household, usually the father, grandfather, whatever. And then what they do is everybody goes out and works. Everybody goes out and works. Whether they work a good job or a bad job, whatever, everybody goes out and works, and they bring all of that income into a household account. One account. And that one account pays all the bills, makes sure that everybody has their needs. And what they do is they often live off of cash because they have enough of it coming in, because they've got 6, 7, 8, 9 people working. And what they'll do is then they'll start spending and they'll go, oh, you want a nice car? Well, we'll go pay cash for a nice car. They don't do it in financing. They don't do those things. They just start bringing in and bringing in and bringing in, and they buy and they pay cash. The most wealthy people typically have households that are much deeper than single-family households. They're much deeper. They're usually 2 and 3 generation households. It's typical that you'll see, and so in biblical times you would see that. So you didn't want daughters, because guess what? You would marry off daughters. You would send them to go someplace else. And oftentimes, they were bought. You got money for them. So in biblical times, it's like, how do we get the household bigger? And you would build rooms, and you would build additions, because it wasn't about being out on your own. It was about contributing to the household and to be able to expand our reach as a family. And so I will tell you right now, you really want to get rich in your house, do not push your kids out, make them contribute to a household account, and then buy things that way. Now you got to provide for everybody. You can't be stingy and be like, I'm going to steal from everybody. But this is what happens. And so the reason why I say that this is a change for us is because a lot of us, we live in want, because we've said, I've got to be out on my own. And we got out on our own way too early. Anybody in here, did you leave your house at 16 or 17? Did you struggle at 16 or 17 because of it? Right? Why? Because you weren't really ready. You weren't ready. You didn't have a nest egg. You didn't have somebody give you $50,000 and say, hey, good luck, let's go out there and let's do it together. You just did it. You're like, I hate your rules, I'm out. That's what happens. You're like, I'm out. I'm good. I'm getting out of here. And see, it tells us that the household dynamic has shifted so drastically to this. We're going to do this. Now you see it changing, though. You see millennials coming home like it's going out of style. They're like, hey, I'll just come home. I'll live with mom and dad. Stack up my money, which is what's supposed to happen, so that you can go out and be ready. Because here's the thing. Back then, they didn't have retirement accounts. You know who took care of the aging parents? Their kids. Who takes care of you when you start getting to the point where you can't take care of yourself? The kids that you've alienated and they leave the house? The kids that are upset with you? The kids that go, I hate you, I don't ever want to be here, I don't want to deal with you anymore? Who's gonna take care of you? Who's gonna help you get through these things? Yeah, we say that. My kids are gonna do it. I know for a fact that when it gets to the point that when I'm not able to take care of myself, if my wife's not there, they're putting me in a home. I know for an absolute fact. My kids are back there. They're like, yep, as soon as we can, Dad, we're putting you in a home. If they could put me in a home today, they would. They'd be like, yep, it's just how it goes. So here's the thing. Now let's get back into the message. So let's go backwards here a little bit. See, what happens is oftentimes Jesus is in the background of our life, and we want to have this consumerist mindset. We want to have the American dream. We want to have the nice car. We want to have these things. And so Jesus continues to live in the background. You go, hey, I believe in Jesus, he exists, but he can often be easy to miss in your life. Often easy to miss. People just drive by and be like, it's not like your house has the sign out in front or anything like that. They just drive by and they have no idea, right? And I'm not saying to get a sign and put it out in front and say, we're following Jesus. But what I'm saying is that it's just easy to drive by your house and go, there's no difference. And it's easy sometimes for us to ignore. It's really easy for us to ignore Jesus sometimes. So you have to get better at putting Jesus in the front. Right? It's impossible. You got to make it to where it's impossible to miss. What are you doing to put Jesus in the front to make it to where he's impossible to miss? How do you put Jesus in the forefront of your life? He's not just a historical figure. How do you get to this point? How do you go, hey, that's my closest friend. I'm going to talk to somebody about it. He's my counselor. He's my confidant. He's my comforter. And so you start putting it in that mindset and something starts to change. See, that's why you understand what Paul says. Paul understands. He goes, I know what it is to be with, and I know what it is to be without, because I have the comforter, I have a counselor, I have a confidant, I have somebody who's with me all the time. And when somebody's with me, it doesn't matter what I have Jesus. It doesn't matter what I have. I have all I need because I have somebody with me. I have somebody to get through this thing with me. I have somebody to walk with me. And see, the second time that we get to this point where we go, I have enough. I know that I start to look at things and I get to the point now where I go, I've lived enough to know that I have less time in front of me than what I've already lived. Right? I know that. And I know that I heard the chuckle come from out there, and I know because I hear it. Right? I know that I've gotten to that point where I go, the days in front of me are less than the days I've already passed. And so when you have that mindset, you have to start going, I start to learn what really matters. I start to go, hey, these are the things that matter. These are the things that matter. I can tell you right now, there's so many times where I go, yeah, I like having stuff, but it doesn't matter. I'll give it all up. I'll easily give it all up if it means that if I would have more time with family, or if I'd have more time with friends. I'd easily give all those things up. See, I'll tell you right now, if you get in a car accident today, you're not going to worry about how much money you have in the bank. You're just not. You're not going to worry about a pile of cash next to you. You're going to go, I need to have Jesus because I'm on my way. You know, if you were wheeled into an operating room today, you wouldn't be like, man, I need more Instagram followers, right? No, you need more Jesus. You know, it's just how it is. When you send your kids out into the world, right? When you send them out there, you know, you just go, man, I'm just going to put some shoes on your feet, and hopefully I put Jesus in their heart, because you have no idea what they're walking into. I can tell you right now, just think about what you walked into as a kid, and think about this. Whatever you walked into, your parents didn't walk into what you walked into. They didn't. What you walked into was completely different. And when your kids are walking into stuff, they're walking into stuff that's completely different than what you've ever walked into. You've never experienced it. But it might be similar, but it's different. You know, here's the thing. I never ever had to experience sending people selfies or naked selfies. I've never had that. I never had to experience that. But kids today, they're experiencing that. They're doing it. It's happening all the time. And all of a sudden, their stuff is being shared everywhere. And it's just one of those things I never thought about. And so I don't even know how to coach somebody out of that, going, hey, don't do that. All you're doing is you're allowing somebody the insights of your life that's supposed to be shared with somebody special, but I don't know how to coach somebody through that. I don't know how to get through those things. And then when you experience it, you go, how are we supposed to do this? And so when you're sending your kids out into the world, you have to go, you cannot just put shoes on their feet and send them out into the world. You have to go, I hope that I am preparing them for this world with Jesus. Because they're going to need to rely on Him more and more and more than what I can ever provide for them as they go out into this world. See, when your life comes to your final days, you're not going to go, man, I wish I would have had more things. I wish I would have had more stuff. No, you're going to go, I wish I would have more relationships. I want to know where I'm going to spend my eternity at. I wish that my relationship with Jesus would be good. I've learned the secret of being content. It's Jesus. I learned it each and every day. I look at what Paul says. Paul says, you have to be content with Jesus, because if you're continuing to pursue other things, it means that your heart is not in the relationship with Jesus. It means that your heart is in those things. That's what I started with at the beginning of this. Your heart is in pursuing that car. Your heart is in pursuing whatever it is, the house that's your dream house. Your heart is in pursuing the American dream rather than in pursuing Jesus. And if you really, really want to make a difference in this world, and you want to make a difference and leave a legacy, start pursuing Jesus, and you'll start seeing that you're leaving a legacy. You're leaving followers. You're leaving people behind you that are going, I want more and more and more of Jesus. I will tell you right now, I do not care if my kids make more money than what I ever do, and all of them probably will. But the thing is, I want them to have a relationship with Jesus. Why? Because what they have matters nothing when they die. It only matters is their relationship, because what I did, and I'm hoping in all likelihood that I die before they do. And if I die before they do, I want to see them again. If they don't have Jesus, I'm not guaranteed that. If I don't leave them that legacy, I'm not guaranteed that. Doesn't matter if I walked them down the aisle, if I was there for their 16th birthday, if I bought them their first car, doesn't matter any of those things. If I don't get to see them in heaven, then I failed. because I was too busy on the pursuit of acquisition of goods, right? I was continuing to go, hey, this is more important, this is more important, this is more important, rather than going, He is more important. He is more important. Because that's the problem. That's the real problem. We go, my stuff is more important than Jesus. It's not. It's not. It's not even close. See, you can do all things through Jesus. When you're sick, He's the healer. You pray for Him for that. When you're hurting, He's the comforter. You pray for comfort. When you're sad, you pray for joy through Him. When you sin, He is your Savior. He is all things. Today, we have to have the habit of less of everything that matters, everything that doesn't matter, and more of what matters. Right? This habit of going, I'm going to get rid of things. Less of what doesn't matter. Life is too valuable. Your calling is too great. I want you to know that. Each and every one of you have a call. Each and every one of you. And see, oftentimes we don't see ourselves as having a call. Each and every one of us, we don't see that, but you have a calling. And our God is too good to let you waste your life. And so why would you do it? Why would you waste it? Because I have Jesus, I have enough. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to close your eyes. Let's close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to think, what happens if I didn't have any of my stuff anymore? Just imagine your life without the things that you think you need. How much different is it? How is it better? Is it worse? Do you think that you go, oh, I got to have a car to get to work, I got to have this thing, or whatever? And I know that some of us are in that mindset. But if you had to start all over again with nothing, what would have to be there? What would you have to have? What would have to be there? Who would you have to have along with you? Because that's what I look at. As I close my eyes, I go, if I had to start all over again today with nothing, who would I want to be with me? Who's going to encourage me? Who's going to help guide my feet? Who's going to continue to breathe? Going, hey, we can do this, we can get there. And I can tell you right now, I want Jesus and I want my family with me. Everything else doesn't matter. And so keeping your mindset right there, I want you, let's just pray and let's go, Father, help me have you. Help me have you as my relationship, as my beacon. Help me have more of you, more of what matters, and more of the relationships that are central to me, that my family, those that are going to be encouragement, those that are going to be uplifting, those that are going to continue to push me to move in the right direction, those that are going to be like, hey, we can get through anything because with you we can. Father, help me move in that direction. Help me go that this is what matters, the relationships, not the stuff. I can do all the things that I do without the stuff I have. I can do none of it without you. Father, I ask that each one of us, you just pour out this new awakening and this new encouragement to our hearts to go, hey, we don't need more stuff. What we need is more Jesus. To put you forefront in our lives, to put you to where we put you right at the front door, to when we walk out the front door, we bump right into you. That we just have to continue to run into you day after day, constant reminders. Whether that's putting up encouraging scripture throughout our house, or that's putting up a cross where we've never had one, or if that's just making sure that the Bible is front and center on our phone, or and everywhere we go, just continuing to go, everywhere I go, I'm going to take my Bible with me, just continuing to put you front and center to where we just continue to have that you are there. And I don't need more things, I need more of you. I need more of your comfort, more of your joy, more of your grace, and oftentimes more of your forgiveness. Father, guide us. Help us to strip off all the things that prevent us from running the race that you've asked us to run. Help us to cast away everything that prevents us from doing the work that you've asked us to do. Help us to remove the obstacles that we continue to put before us as if we were trying to run hurdles. Help us cast all that away and just pursue you. Everything else will fall into place if we just do what you ask us to. Father, thank you. Thank you for today. Thank you for the mission field that you're sending us into today, the work that you've laid out before us. Thank you for giving us enough. It's in your Son, Jesus' name, that we pray and we ask for, and we know that you've already started to move with. Amen. Well, guys, we're going to, so I always tell you, there's a mission, right? We all have a mission today. And so our mission's actually a little two-folded today. So part one of this, start decluttering your lives. Start getting rid of stuff. I know that there's one day you look at it and go, I'm going to use that one day. You're not. Just get rid of it. So start getting rid of things. Start decluttering. Start cleaning up stuff. Start just look at it and go, I haven't used that in a year. I'm probably never going to use it. Start getting rid of stuff. So that's number one. Number two, start making relationships more of a priority than things. Relationships are way more important than any of the stuff that you have. And I know that some of the stuff you have is really important to you, but I can promise you that the relationships that you have, you're going to be looking for those more than you will those things later in life. And so so make that. And then I always tell you, so that's number one. That's mission number one. And then mission number two, I always tell you, invite a friend, right? So as you're making your relationships important, invite those people that you're in a relationship with you to church. And it doesn't have to be at the edge. So here's the thing. We have one goal. Right? One goal and one goal alone is to grow God's kingdom. And we believe by growing God's kingdom, the edge will grow along with that. And so when we go, hey, we want to get more people into a church that's a Bible-believing, Jesus-preaching church. That's what we're after. So encourage people to go to church, whether they're local, whether they're close by, whether they're down the road, wherever they're at. Encourage them. Encourage people around you. Go, hey, get into a church, get into around, because we know that Jesus is enough. It's what gives us comfort. And so bring a friend with you, get them into church. Hey, let's do life. That's really what it's about, doing life together.